It is a factory.
It's all it is.
To make you an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Producer doesn't always mean you pay for it. It means you find the funds to pay for it.
Correct.
But this one was basically like, hey, taxman, don't take my money. I'm going to be a producer of a movie, and here's the funds.
Right. Do the 9 to 5. Don't forget. Let Home by the Sea fester in your head for a while. You know?
All right, everybody, welcome to The Good Hustle, episode 22. Once again, it's going to be another great episode. We have another great guest. This is going to be pretty fun.
It's going to be awesome. But if you guys didn't know already, John and I were both realtors here in the central PA area. So if you know anyone looking to buy or sell or invest or anything, please let us know. We'd love to help. This is how we fund our podcast. So yeah, let us know.
This is how we fund this. So, all right. So anyway, today we have a really great guest, Brandon Keeton. So let's go IMDb, which is actually on the front page of my phone for all my apps because I look up so much stuff on there. I look up everything because I'm the guy that like watches a movie and I'm like, okay, that girl is from. Yep, I knew it. She's
Grey's
from
Anatomy.
Yeah. Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
But anyway, Brandon Keeton, producer, director. IMDb profile says dad, husband, retired Marine, retired boxer, martial artist, former martial artist, school owner, entrepreneur, actor, producer, and all around workaholic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you write that? No, I'm just kidding.
I did, actually.
I was going to say, does that sound about right?
Yeah. I was trying to encapsulate, who I am in a short paragraph.
I think that's the exact same profile I have on my Facebook. Let me see.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of workaholics in this room right now. I can tell you that for free. So right off the bat, obviously that's a ridiculous resume. It's a lot of stuff in there. So I guess acting in film was probably always part of your DNA, right?
Yeah. Since I was a kid, I was always the performer in the family. Like a lot of kids, I did the theater in elementary school and high school, and I actually had a scholarship to college to Morehead State University in Kentucky. Very good theater program. I had a scholarship there. I had won it in an acting contest that they have there.
Cool.
And so I won the scholarship, and I didn't take it. I had a handwritten note from the chair of the theater department saying, "We need you more than Uncle Sam."
Wow.
What?
And but I joined the Marine Corps instead.
So how did that, how do you go from, here's your dream, here's something you've loved, getting handed to you on a platter, and saying, you know what, I'm going to go defend our country?
One of the best strengths that I have is that I have the ability to take an honest look at myself and be honest with myself. A lot of people try to tell themselves lies.
Yeah.
I was really good at that for years.
Well, they do, and a lot
You're
of people
not wrong.
do. What I have always been able to do, even from a very young age, is be honest with who I was and where I was. I barely made it out of high school, even though I had the scholarship. I barely made it out of high school. I had a 1.8 grade point average. Dad was a air some dirty laundry here. Dad was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic drug addict. He used to come in, beat on mom a little bit, and I just needed to get away. And I didn't think that, because I was in northern Kentucky, near the Cincinnati area is where I grew up, and I knew that Morehead in Kentucky, down south a little bit, I knew that wasn't far enough.
Yeah, that's only like an hour or two, isn't it?
About 2 hours.
Yeah, because I've been to Morehead.
It's near Ashland. Yeah.
Yep.
So I knew that I wasn't going to be academically inclined, and I never was academically inclined, at least K through 12, the way that it's set up.
Yeah.
And you guys are entrepreneurs.
I was the exact same way.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It is a factory.
It's all it is.
To make you an employee.
Yes.
Amen.
It is not set up for people like for entrepreneurs who just think differently. I remember when I was in the Marine Corps. I stayed 21 years, so I love the Marine Corps. But I remember when I was in the Marine Corps, I took a business class at the local community college, Coastal Carolina Community College.
Coastal, yeah.
I took my first ever business class. And this was after the Marine Corps sent me to Miami University in Ohio. I took my first business class. My degree was in history, though. So I was just like, man, I know all of this stuff about leadership. I know how to manage people and I know how to lead and I know these things. And I think when I get out, I think I can start my own business in something. I took my first business class at Coastal Carolina Community College in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I left the first class in tears. I had finally found people that could think like me.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And it was just like, oh my God, I'm not by myself.
I felt the exact same way.
I'm not alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was an eye opener for me. So I knew I was going to go into some kind of business. And I knew that whatever I ended up doing, I'd be all right.
Yeah. So, and the cool thing is, like, when we went to school, you went to school, they didn't offer these other types of schooling like they're offering now. Like, I have friends, the Riggins family, their kids go to a specific school outside of Boiling Springs, and literally these kids are in charge of the school program.
Is it like a Montessori school or something like that? Is that what it is?
What is that?
I just know there's it's you know what I'm talking about, Brandon? It's
My
like
daughter did Montessori for a couple years.
yeah, the Montessori schools are they're more like hands-on.
Yes,
less,
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Less test-based, all that.
Right.
Yes, because a lot of us, now I was really good at tests, that's fine. You know, I can excel on a test,
Right.
but I can't sit there and just sit there.
Yeah.
Especially boys.
Yeah, I can't. Like, I was
Especially when they're taking away recess.
Yeah.
Oh man, they tried to take away recess once because I was playing the snare drum in 5th grade, played for 2 weeks. They said, you got to come in from recess and practice. I said, I quit. I said, you're not taking away my recess. This is all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like for me, it was like, no way. But so these Montessori schools, like, this is like what they're doing now. If they would have offered that to me as a kid, I don't regret anything about my life because where I'm sitting today and at this table exactly right now, love it. But who knows what would have happened with me and what directions I would have gone.
Yeah.
Like for people like myself.
Yeah.
Because these schools that are set up like, job factories, which I mean, I agree they are, that's not what was good for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And by 9th grade, I became an addict and an alcoholic. And it just wasn't good for me.
Yeah.
So
I do find it amazing how many people have been on the show and said something really similar to that. Like, we've had a lot of very interesting entrepreneurial, creative, successful people on it, and that's been the general sentiment from most of us. So I find that to be a very interesting through line through the whole education system and everything. But okay, so you spend 21 years in the Marines, which I know we're probably skipping a huge part of your life within the Marines.
Huge story right
yeah,
there,
I'm sure that's a story in itself and everything.
Yeah, it is.
But then you go into opening a martial arts gym after being in the Marines, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I was a boxer in the Marine Corps for 18 of the 21 years that I was in. And for 15 of those 21 years, I was also a hand-to-hand close combat instructor.
Cool.
So when I would get to a new unit, they would inevitably find out that I was a fighter. And they'd say, well, you're the hand-to-hand combat guy now. Yes, sir. So I did that, and when I got out, it just seemed a natural thing. I knew I was going to do my own business. Don't get me wrong. I tried to get a day job. I tried, but I found that I was just as miserable doing that because it was at a warehouse. It was a Rite Aid warehouse. Nothing against Rite Aid. You guys are wonderful. But
it's the second Rite Aid person we've had.
Yeah.
Brian Dean.
Yes.
Yeah, keep going.
But it was a warehouse for Rite Aid. And I was just miserable. There was my manager had been doing the same job for 54 years.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
And I was just like, A, why aren't you retired yet? B, how?
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
Could you imagine the same day over and over again for 54 years?
No, no. Especially coming out of the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
where you're changing jobs every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, you do your main job, then you go be a recruiter or a drill instructor, and then you come back to your main job, and then you go off and you do another, another odd job.
Right.
So, yeah, I ADHD just kicked in.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, we were talking about you opening your martial arts school.
Yeah, so it seemed a natural progression. I was a boxer. I had gotten into the traditional martial arts for my kids after I retired from boxing. So I was like, I still want to do something to be active, and I wanted something to do. I knew I wasn't going to do full contact anything anymore. So I was like, yeah, let's find a family-friendly martial arts school. And I did, and it was awesome. Tiger Rock Martial Arts, if I can plug them.
Of course. Where's it at?
We are a national company.
Okay.
We're a national franchise. So I decided, if I'm going to open my own business, I'm going to do it under their flag. So I opened my own school, and within 5 years, at least on paper, I was a self-made millionaire guy. So
Awesome.
Wow, that's
awesome, dude.
Yay capitalism. And
That's so cool.
and it was proof that it was, for me, that, I mean, yeah, the money was good, but it more so for me, it was the proof that I had been right about me. It was proof that, I could manage and I could lead and it was everything the Marine Corps taught me. Matter of fact, the last tour in the Marine Corps, I was the advertising officer for the middle third of the East Coast.
Wow.
So if you saw a billboard or a radio ad or, something like that, that was me, basically getting it played through my subordinates, as But I was the one approving the funds, I'll say.
That's awesome.
And reviewing it. And, well, do we really want to do that? But yeah, and I learned a lot about marketing and advertising on my last tour, which was pretty cool.
That's really neat. So you go from having this gym or this martial arts studio, and then
how did I get into?
Well, how many years later? How many years did you run it? And what
10.
made you and what made you decide to sell?
So I so I had been running it for a while, and then COVID hit.
Oh man.
And I was just like, maybe, because I was teaching classes on Zoom. We were still open. We survived. As a matter of fact, I was the only martial arts school in the state of Pennsylvania to get those emergency funds as a necessary business.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the other school owner, well, how did you get that? I was like, dude, I just did the paperwork. I just did the work.
You're the only one who filed.
I didn't know if they were going to approve it or not, but I did the paperwork. And so I got these emergency funds so I could stay open. And God bless my students. They didn't leave.
Wow.
We only saw a drop of about 5% of the students.
That's huge.
Wow, that's very, very good.
And it was the thing that I loved about being a martial arts instructor is that, you're gonna make me all emotional here. Is I got to be that guy. A lot of single moms would bring me their boys because they needed.
Oh, that's awesome.
They needed that kind of positive male role model.
Sure.
And I got to be the neighborhood dad. And that was pretty cool because my kids were starting to grow up and, and I missed, all the cool stuff you can do under the age of 10 because everything's new to them. And then, when they become teenagers, they know everything and they don't want to hear from dad. But
Right.
kids 10 and under, man, everything's new and it's fun to joke around with them, and it's, I don't know. I just got to be that guy.
Well, and the important part about being that guy is you are a great influence. Like, it's one of the reasons I got into coaching, because I understood, like, I personally never had kids. So for me, how can I give back to a community? It's by being a good role model and being that guy. And I didn't necessarily have single moms bring me kids. I just had really great families.
Yeah.
And I've coached a lot of really great children. And I've been asked repeatedly, like, hey, can we have you coach our kid next year? They're coming back next year. Are you coaching? And to get that feedback, that's one of the reasons I know, like, that's one of my purposes. Like, God said, hey, listen, I'm going to keep you here for a couple of reasons. And one of them is for you to be a good role model, which you've done for a lot of people, which is really, really cool. So you sell, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking about selling it for a while. There were a couple of my students who were like, hey, how are we going to do this? We would like to open our own school. And, I was like, all right, cool. So this is eventually, and I'm going to give you the long story
That's okay.
of how Turbo Cola got made.
Sure.
Oh, this
All right.
is cool.
I'm ready.
Because it plays into
By
it.
the way, Turbo Cola is the first movie he produced. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. But Luke Culver, who was on our show, he was on our episode 2.
Yeah, our first ever guest.
Our first ever guest was on, and he was directed the movie. You produced it, but let's kind of get into what you were about to talk about.
So during COVID, I needed, something to do during the day that, because before COVID, like during the day, I did a lot of things that you don't see a martial arts school having to do. Most people think martial arts school owners show up at 5:30 and start teaching classes. No, that is not what we do. That's after we've done the job.
Right.
Okay. After we've done the job from 9 to 5:30, then we teach. Okay. So when you own a martial arts school, if you're doing it right, your day starts at 9, just like everybody else. You finish at 5, just like everybody else. And then you teach.
Wow. So then you have your classes in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we did have day classes for our homeschool crowd, which was pretty cool. So there was nothing to do during the day. So I was like, man, what can I do? And I remembered that I was doing my own commercials, directed by Luke.
Shout out, Luke.
Shout out, Luke.
I guess the fourth shout out.
Yeah.
Luke.
Look for Luke Covert to direct your commercials.
Yes.
There you go.
And I just, I've done a couple commercials of my own. I wonder what would happen. And I had a scholarship to college for acting. I wonder what would happen if I actually tried at this.
Mm-hmm.
So the photographer, the martial arts photographer family that was one of my black belts. His mom was a photographer, and so she did some headshots for me. And 2 months later, I was the Scott's lawn care guy. So
That's amazing.
I was like, man, I don't know what everybody's complaining about. I hear actors complaining all the time they can't get work. This stuff's easy. I got a national spot in 2 months. What are you guys doing?
Right.
And then 4 months after that, we were filming Turbo Cola.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you see me in Turbo Cola, I play the
cop,
the incredibly handsome cop.
Yes, super handsome.
Best cop of all time.
Yep.
Right next to Paul
So
Blart.
when you
Cop.
see me in that movie, that's funny.
Give you props.
When
I
you
was holding
see-
that one in. I was trying
That was
not to
good.
say it.
That was
but
good.
I
That
had
was
to.
good. I liked it.
So when you see me in the movie, I had been acting all of 6 months.
You did a great job, because I honestly didn't know that was you until I met you. Well, I went and saw you perform at Agatha Christie.
Yep.
And which was at the Oyster Mill.
Yep.
And
Which was my first ever stage play.
which was amazing. I was so impressed with that. First off, I get to this, I don't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I get to this play, and Taylor was supposed to go with me, but she was sick, so I go alone. And they start off by saying, there will be 2 intermissions. I was like, oh, God. I was like, 2 intermissions? I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
I can't handle this. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I sat next to this lady, and her and I were like, that's who's going to get killed next. No, they're going to die next. I mean, her and I, and then I'm glad there was 2 intermissions because I have to pee a lot. So like I needed to get out. So like without the 2 intermissions, I would have like, I don't know what I would have done.
Exploded.
I might have had to use my water bottle, but which I think would have been frowned upon in the
Probably
crowd.
in a theater? Yeah,
in a
probably.
theater. Yeah. But shout out Pee Wee Herman. I'm just kidding. So anyway, but I was like crazy to me, like how good it was and how good you did. Because I would have never known because I didn't meet you till after the show.
Right.
And how good you were was amazing to me, considering like you just said it was your first one.
Yeah. It was so, again, I've had strength for knowing myself. And so I knew that I am not the best actor in the world. I know that. But I'm also not the worst.
Right.
So I looked at the play as a challenge because I had been doing a lot of commercial work up to that point. And we'll get back to how Turbo Cola got made in a second. Sure. I was doing a lot of commercial work, and in a commercial, you have you see the family. Dude, I met them 10 minutes ago.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So it was nice to be able to sit with a character for a couple of months. And you good?
Keep going. Oh, that felt so good. Keep going.
So it was nice as an actor. It was nice to sit with a character and mold the character a little bit and put my own. I mean, that particular character has been done numerous times by much better actors than me, but it was nice to be able to put my spin on it after really delving into it, and I did appreciate that.
Yeah, because you came off. I don't know what you thought, but I thought he came off as like the cocky neighborhood cop.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked it.
The in Turbo Cola.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you were like kind of like that. Oh, there's officer.
Yeah, always marking time till retirement. Yeah,
yes, 100%.
Like that's literally. I was like, yeah, he's been around forever.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
Special shout out to Terry Seitz, Chief Terry Seitz of the East Berlin Police Department. He is the chief of the East Berlin Police, and my costume was his uniform.
No way.
That's awesome.
I always wondered that, like how, because you're like you can't ever impersonate a cop. Like how do you walk around in that uniform and you're not impersonating?
You can't. Well, there's special things for theater and film. You cannot show a logo. They're very all the patches that you see are altered. Like when you're watching a cop show of some sort, all the patches that you see are altered in some fashion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
a lot of them just say like police, like generic police badge or something like that. Okay, yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. So I guess you go from how does this get us?
So I decided I was going to start acting. I get the Scott's lawn care thing, and I was hooked at that point. I was okay. This is fun. Got to pretend to drive a tractor. It was pretty cool. And so I had all of this money saved. Here's the long story. I had all of this money saved up because we were going to open a second location. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of money saved up to throw at this second location. Again, I had students that were looking to own their own school. I was going to let them run that. Mm-hmm. And then when they were ready, they could purchase it from me. But the day, and I had already paid 9 months of rent in advance to the location over in Harrisburg.
The one you were currently at?
No. The one I was currently at, we were just paying regular rent.
Okay.
The new location, I paid 9 months in advance of rent. So that we could, get it up and running, and I didn't have to worry about rent for a while.
Yep.
But the day that we were supposed to open was the day that the COVID lockdowns went into effect.
March 13th, Friday.
Oh.
Wow. 2020.
Yeah. For us, it was opening day was March 16th.
Oh, so the
Wow. So it was literally
16th,
right
the
around
Monday,
that
yeah.
time.
Because they shut us down Friday-ish. Wow.
Yeah. So I had all of this money saved up. I was able to negotiate the rent back. So I had a lot of money saved up. And my accountant is calling me saying, hey, this was earmarked as a business expense. If you don't spend it, Uncle Sam's going to take 40% of it.
Ooh.
So I was like, look, I love my country. I served for 21 years.
But I'm not giving 40%.
But I'm not giving 40% of what I earned
Hey, fair enough.
to Uncle Sam. So I was like, I wonder if I could make a movie. And the seed. And 2 days later, I was in a play reading for a play written by Samantha Odie that she had just won a contest for, and her one of her prizes was to hear her play read aloud by actors who had auditioned for the roles. And we're reading this thing. I was like, man, I'm getting some major Clerks vibes on this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one location. I think I might be able to do this. So I called the one director that I knew, the guy who had directed the commercials for my martial arts school. I said, hey, man, what do you think about making like a short film out of this? So I sent him the play, and he goes, dude, it's 110 pages. Wait, this is not a short film. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I literally had been in the industry for 3 months. And he's like, this is a feature film. I said, okay. Well, and he started throwing up roadblocks to me.
I can get through that.
So he goes, okay, well, the first thing is we need a gas station. I said, okay. I'm on the phone. I was like, okay, gas station. Okay. Well, just give me an hour. and I could hear the silence on the other end. He's like, this
dude's crazy.
Oh, here we go.
So I call up the one gas station owner that I know who happened to own the gas station across the street from my martial arts
Wow.
school in New Cumberland.
Yep.
I said, hey, Sukhdev, you remember me? He goes, oh, Brandon, how you doing? And I was like, I'm doing good. I make movies now. You ever let a movie be filmed at your place? And he goes, oh, yeah, I can do that. I called Luke back. Okay, I got the gas station. Now what? And once again,
He was probably like, you're insane.
once again, you hear this deafening, you are freaking crazy, dude, silence on the other end. He's like, and in his head, I know he was probably thinking, oh my God, this guy's for real.
Yeah.
He's probably thinking at the same time, like, this is an opportunity. Don't get your hopes up, Luke, because this is never going to work. But this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Don't get your hopes up. He's probably kind of going back and forth, fighting like at both sides. Yeah.
He's fighting demons while you're talking to him the whole
So
time.
we went back and forth with the playwright about different versions of the script. I finally had Luke and his friend Matthew Kiss do the final polish on it. We added some elements to make it a movie. You have to change because the medium changed.
Right.
There's certain things you can do in a play that you can't do in a movie, and vice versa. So we changed a couple things around to make it a movie, and we knew that we would also have to change the title. The original title was New Year's Eve at the Stop and Go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that, yeah.
But I quickly discovered that Stop and Go is a registered trademark, and I can't. I didn't have the money for that license, so we knew we would have to change it. And it went through like 3 or 4 title changes, while we were working on it. And then the actors came up with the title.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So the actors came up with the title. They asked Luke, hey, what about this title? And Luke was like, yeah, okay.
Can I ask you a
And
quick
then
question
Luke
about
told
that?
me, and then I told the playwright,
Yeah.
and so I was like, yeah, this is.
So
That's the name.
was the soda Turbo Cola going to be in the movie until that decision? Okay.
Oh yeah, it was still Turbo Cola was a part of.
Right.
The
Oh,
movie
so it was
anyway.
already a part of it.
It was already a part of it.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
question.
And
Yeah.
the reason, because we needed a soda brand that we didn't.
That they could do like the sweepstakes for and all
Yeah, that we could do the sweepstakes
Yeah,
for,
yeah,
and
okay.
that we didn't have to. We didn't have to pay.
Right.
Welcome to indie film.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't have any connections at Coke or Pepsi or anything like that to ask, hey, can we use your product? And it fit really well. Anyway, just to have our own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question about producer, like to me, when I see producer, this is all new to me as well. So I didn't know any of this stuff until within the last few months. But when I saw producer and then you have director, my brain doesn't know the difference. I know director's like action, right? That's what my brain knows.
Sure.
And producer, I never knew what that was. And then
Not a lot of people do.
No, they don't.
actually.
And then in my head, because I'm kind of a producer for calls because I donated, kinda. I don't know how that necessarily works, but which we'll get into calls too. But you were the producer of this movie.
Yeah.
Now, producer doesn't always mean you pay for it. It means you find the funds to pay for it.
Correct.
But this one was basically like, hey, taxman, don't take my money. I'm going to be a producer of a movie, and here's the funds.
Right.
So for people that don't know, like to me, I think that's cool to learn. Like a producer is somebody that either A, pays for the filming and the production, or some production. Okay, that makes sense. Or I'm learning real quick, guys. Or somebody that can help gather the funds to do that. And I think that's really neat to understand.
Or somebody who brings something to the table.
Okay.
If you bring equipment to the table, if you bring a location to the table.
Oh, really?
If you
So there's multiple producers I've seen sometimes. Okay.
So executive producer, those are generally the money.
Okay. Okay.
Then you see things like producer. You see things like associate producer.
Okay.
You see things, you see.
I never knew what any of that meant, so
you
that's
see
helpful.
and it depends on, like, I'm an associate producer on a film called 18 and a Half. 18 and a Half is a 1970s Richard Nixon. What possibly could have happened to the missing 18 and a half minutes of the Nixon tapes?
Oh.
It's got Bruce Campbell in it.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. That's how they got me on board too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not joking.
Ash is in this?
Yes.
From Housewares?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Shop ass smart. Yes. That guy.
You got that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Dude, he's one of my favorite
Yeah,
actors.
he does the voice for Richard Nixon in 18 and a Half.
Do you know who
Really?
Bruce Campbell is?
No, you guys are missing me with
Okay.
this. I'm sorry.
Does anybody
Evil
anybody
Dead.
in the Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Army of Darkness? Anybody?
Oh, Evil Dead.
Army of Darkness, Evil
Okay,
Dead?
okay.
He like
Gotcha.
And every Sam Raimi movie.
Baratu, necktie. I can't believe Bruce Campbell's one of my favorite actors.
That's how they got me on board. Yeah.
I'd be on board too.
So I said, wait a minute, hold on. You're telling me my name is going to be in the credits with Bruce Campbell.
When does this come? What is okay?
And I
Tell me
said,
more about
Shut
this
up
thing.
and take my money.
That's amazing.
So right around the same time Turbo Cola was happening.
So this is out already.
Yeah, both movies are out.
Oh, I need to see this
18
one.
and a half.
Okay.
He plays the voice of Richard Nixon. He doesn't show up on screen, but he's the voice
but
on the tapes.
That's fine with me.
And John Cryer is also
Yeah,
a voice
great
on
actor.
those tapes. Willa Fitzgerald, who
I know who that is.
is on Reacher now.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Catherine Curtin, who I have met, is a wonderful lady. She was from Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I got to be an associate producer on that one. And the funds that I gave helped them get their music together.
That's awesome.
And they were almost nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song.
That's cool.
Last year, 2 years ago. And so I took great pride in that I had helped that, production. That was directed by a guy named Dan Mervish, who started the Slam Dance Film Festival.
Okay.
That's awesome. So Turbo Cola happens.
Yep.
And I'm sure that's a whole big process in itself with Luke and you, and I'm sure a lot of people are involved with that. But so you guys go on to win best local picture in Philly. You win best ensemble at another film festival, and you said you won the 2023, was it Indie Film of the Year?
So we also won the best director and best film at the Red Rose Film Festival.
Red Rose, that's right,
in Lancaster,
which is awesome.
And then we won for 2023 best indie film of the year.
Yeah, that's
just Film Threat anyway.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So like was that all very validating to you and Luke to both be like, oh my gosh, we actually like we really are successful at this?
In Podunk, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Absolutely. It's not New York, it's not Atlanta, it's not Los Angeles.
Yeah.
We did this here. We did this at home. We did this 6 blocks from our house.
Right.
You know. No, a little more than 6 blocks, probably about a mile. but you get the idea. We did this here.
Yeah,
because Luke just lives on the other end of town.
Yeah.
I mean, technically he lives in Lemoyne, but then you on the other end is New Cumberland. I mean, that's a mile. Like
that's literally a mile.
Which is just, I mean, to win those awards.
The cool thing about Turbo Cola is while we were making it, you know, they got the theater down in New Cumberland now.
Oh, yes.
And we thought, man, it'd be cool if this thing got fixed up to where we could show Turbo Cola here, 3 blocks from where we made it. And then the following year, they're having their opening ceremonies, and we get to be a part of that.
That's so cool.
We got to show our movie there.
Yeah, and I know a lot of guys that were involved with that, guys and women, with redoing that theater. And I've got to see my niece perform there twice in the last year. And that theater's awesome.
Yeah.
And the seating along the sides, how they have like their booths set up, the concession stand. It is, have you been in there since they've redone this place?
No, I haven't been.
It is stunning.
Oh, yeah.
For small town New Cumberland to have this beautiful theater. And I know so many people put their hearts, their time, and their money into making that what it is today. So anybody that was a part of that, just thank you for making that great for the community because, you know, like Brandon says, it's an awesome theater. And to be able to show your movie 2 blocks away, which is amazing.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine the feeling of, you know, going from a moment where you're taking this giant risk, you were supposed to open another location, the entire world shuts down, and you're doing all this stuff off the back of like what should have been a tragedy or something that felt probably going horribly wrong, and then to turn it into Indie Film of the Year with a local director here who's directing your commercials and stuff. I mean, that is like, that's such a crazy whirlwind from tragedy to success. That's insane.
It's been an incredible ride. And not just the director though, but the cast and the crew. Everybody on the cast, for the most part, everybody on the cast and crew, it was also their first feature.
Yeah.
We did. I can't believe I'm going to tell this story.
No, you should.
We did have a guy who had done another feature. It was called Velocipaster.
Oh, geez.
Wait. I think I've seen this.
Just like it sounds.
Yes.
I think they spent more money on
it was
the
on
poster.
Netflix, I think.
I don't think it was on Netflix.
Maybe not. Okay. I just know it was like a really funny.
Velocipaster, and it's just like it sounds. It's a preacher who goes around fighting crime, usually ninjas, by transforming into a dinosaur.
Wait, who was in it?
And nobody. But they had this dinosaur costume in their barn, and they were like, "Yeah, we need to use this." So they made a movie out of it.
That's awesome.
And they spent more money on the poster, I think, than they did the movie.
That's awesome. Hilarious.
And they knew they just had, just like Turbo Cola, they just had a good time making it. You know.
Yeah, I would have had fun making that.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say one thing, what Zach just shared about like how you did all this during COVID, like the world shuts down and you decide to make changes. He did the exact same thing.
A lot of people did.
For his life.
Yep.
Like his life.
It was the exact same whirlwind. Not the exact same. I shouldn't say that. But I was going through a very similar whirlwind where I was sent home from work and I had this crappy corporate job. And I was like, well, it's time to either completely change who Zach is or it's time to just buckle in for being work from home for 2-3 years. I don't know. But,
and that's one of the things I'm really proud of you for because you went and did that and you're sitting here today because of it.
Yeah.
And he's sitting here today because of it. So because not everybody, COVID was really hard. Really hard for the world. And to see people that succeeded through that like you guys, I think that's really cool. So it's very commendable for both of you guys. So I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
And so I want to kind of get into short films you're doing now because there's some really cool stuff. So, Imperfect Circles. The one I don't know about is Home by the Sea.
Okay.
But we'll get into that. But let's start with Calls.
Okay.
So Calls is one that you did recently, filmed just a couple months ago.
Yep.
And it is getting a ton of traction.
Yeah.
B, it's getting tons of awards already.
Yeah.
And C, it was my debut of acting. And I had a line.
And it was my debut at directing too.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
It was really, and it was fun. Like, I will admit, like when I got there, it was awesome. Like the house that I was a part of, the filming, the actors, the producers, the makeup, the cameraman, like, and your directing job, like everything was really smooth. Considering it was your first one, I was like sitting there like, this is working.
Here's another thing that we haven't brought up yet. All of those people, with the exception of the actors, were students over at Hack.
Yeah, because the girl that I was with, she's a student.
It was a student.
My daughter, yeah.
And
I didn't know
because I am also a student over
Which
at
I knew that,
Hack Film
yes.
School.
Really?
Yeah. After making Turbo Cola and having a small part to play in 18 and a half and having done a lot less commercials and some other feature films that weren't mine, I was like, maybe I should go to school for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I started, and that year was like 3 months after Turbo Cola opened. Hack started a film school. So I was like, oh, well, this is convenient. Better than driving to New York with gas prices being what they are.
Yep.
So I was just like, all right, well, let's give this a shot. And so Calls and Imperfect Circles are both student films.
Right.
Okay.
And Calls is really great. I'm allowed to share that I got to watch it because I got the sneak peek. I watched the movie. It was really fun, really well done. I mean, like I said, I was like messaging him. I was like, I'm sorry I couldn't, try out for this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, I got a part. You can be a dad. No lines, but you can be a dad. I said, no, I just got the perfect sweater. This ugly golf sweater, like so ugly. It just happened to come in the mail the other day from eBay for like $5. Nice. But then I got there and you're like, hey, I need you to have a line.
Yeah,
I was like super pumped. And like they fed us dinner and like there was pasta. And
That's
it was
epic.
like, but let's talk about Calls and let's talk about some of the awards that you're getting because this is your directorial debut.
For a short film, yes.
Yep, for a short film. And you're getting a lot of awards. Let's kind of talk about that.
I have the advantage of, yes, I'm a student, but I also have life experience advantage that a lot of, younger 20-something students don't have. I also have experience already being in the industry for a while and seeing certain things and how things are done and, how to make a shot list and, just basic stuff that, maybe your average student doesn't understand fully yet. So I do come to it with a certain number of advantages. When it came to Calls, I am a huge fan of horror and ghost stories.
Me too.
When I was 10 years old, my friends and I, after mowing lawns, would go down to the mom and pop video store who had their daughter. It was always a Saturday after we were done mowing lawns. And we would go down to the mom and pop video store. The video store that we went to was being run by their 14-year-old daughter who did not care what we rented. So we rented the goriest of the goriest movies you could possibly imagine. Things we had at 10 years old no right to be watching.
Yeah.
And we loved it.
Right.
And so I've always been a fan of horror and I've always been a fan of ghosts. I wanted to do something that mixed the idea of the Sixth Sense, which is, I think, one of the best ghost stories ever told.
Yep.
I wanted to mix that with The Black Phone, which came out recently.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that I didn't see that one, but I want to see that movie.
That's a really good movie.
It's really good, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's
I
really
like.
good.
I saw it.
Very
It was
well
awesome.
done.
Yeah.
Very well
Cool.
done. So I thought I saw The Black Phone. I was like, man, I think I might be able to mix this with a big reveal, like the Sixth Sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to writing. I wrote calls in the screenwriting class at Hack.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow, that's cool.
So I had the feedback of the professor and the students because we reviewed each other's stuff. So once I had it where I wanted it, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go make this. And I had planned on making it outside of class. Mm-hmm. It was something I was going to do in the summer. But the professor was like, well, why don't you just do it this semester and make it your capstone project? Mm. Well, that moves up my timeline a little bit, but all right. So we filmed it 6 days over spring break, and yeah. It is what it is now.
And it's like I said, it's doing really well. And I think the trajectory you're taking this for yourself and making it what you want, like kind of like Zach and I and even Nate and Ben, like everybody here, we're all doing things that we love, which makes it not feel as much like work, which keeps us a lot happier, which is a really great hustle that you have. It really is. And, and it's kind of, obviously shows where your drive comes from, because you basically worked for the man for 20 plus years. You did a lot of great things with that. And I'm sure the stories are crazy that we'll get to another time for sure. But just to see the fact that you get to do what you love to do, and we're going to get to see this stuff on film and get produced and directed by you and see you on, on the big screen and, even on the stage, which is really cool to me too. So, so this one, you think this one's going to be premiered most likely in November.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's in Pennsylvania.
So it'll premiere here in Pennsylvania, probably, hopefully, maybe at the Red Rose Film Festival.
Okay.
I think we have an in at the Red Rose Film Festival. The bad guy in Calls owns the Red Rose Film Festival.
Oh, yes.
It should be easy enough.
Yes.
My political hire.
Is that why he gets so many roles? Is that what's going on? A little inside baseball.
I'm only on that because he wanted to promote it on here. That's the only reason I got on.
That's genius.
He knows what he's doing.
That's the business brain working.
He ain't no dummy.
But I never count my chickens before they hatch. And the reason for that is because that film 18 and a half, Dan Mervish was the director for 18 and a half. He also started the Slam Dance Film Festival, but 18 and a half did not get into the Slam Dance Film Festival.
Wow.
Okay.
And that was a lesson for me right there. It's like, okay, you may have personal knowledge and personal connections with people, but when it comes to film festivals, they're looking for what they're looking for.
Sure.
And maybe your film fits their festival and maybe it doesn't.
Right. So we can hope.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that we're able to get into there because, Red Rose is one of the better film festivals in Pennsylvania, certainly in central Pennsylvania.
Right.
And it's nice to do something at home. Where you made it.
Right.
Yeah, so keep an eye out. Make sure, like Zach said from the episode 2, like you got to watch Turbo Cola.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phenomenal movie, especially if you're in kind of our age bracket with Millennium, year 2000, Y2K, all that jazz. I mean, it's a really good movie. And then, of course, keep an eye out for Calls coming out. Imperfect Circles you've completed already.
It's completed. It's in post-production, and it should be done by the end of summer.
And then Home by the Sea is the next one you're working on.
Home by the Sea is the passion project I've had in my head for over 40 years.
Wow.
Can we get a little teaser on what that's all about?
Oh, yeah. So I want to be careful not to say too much because it's still very much in its infancy. I was 4 years old, and I was telling the other guys this whole story. I was 4 years old, sitting in a rocket ship that my mom had built me in my room. And I heard Genesis for the first time.
Oh, yeah. I love Genesis.
And I was a fan. They're my band. of any time of
Can
any
I,
genre.
can I interrupt you? Let's give him $5 if he can tell us who the lead singer of Genesis is.
I have no idea.
Which one though?
Uh,
They've had 3.
the best one. Because I say it's Phil Collins.
You know, that's up for debate depending on who, you know, on basically when you discovered.
Very true.
You know,
That's very
Genesis.
true. Who's your favorite?
I do like the commercial aspect of what Phil brought.
He did bring a lot of commercial
to,
aspect, yes.
They got more pop, you know, when Phil came out and became the front man. The artistic and the lyrics, I do have an appreciation for that time frame in the 70s when Peter
Gabriel's awesome.
Was the lead.
Yeah. All right, go back to your rocket ship, sorry.
So
Genesis.
anyway, I'm sitting there. I hear Genesis for the first time, and an idea goes into my head. And I didn't think, and I wrote a short story when I was 12 because this idea was in my head since I was 4. And finally, I wrote it. We got a computer at home, and I finally wrote it. I finally wrote a short story with Genesis music as the backdrop. And then as the years went on, a new idea formed in my head, and I didn't know if it was doable until I saw two specific musicals. One was I can't remember the name of it now. It's got Tom Cruise in it. The movie version has Tom Cruise in it.
Oh, you're not talking about like Mission Impossible, right?
No. It was a musical.
Oh, I don't
with
know.
80s music in it. I can't remember the name of it now.
I'm not sure. The only thing that comes to mind is Les Mis, but I don't think that was Tom
No,
Cruise. Yeah.
No, that's definitely not Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That's Liam Neeson.
Yes.
So it was that Tom Cruise movie.
Sure.
And Mamma Mia,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
where they used the music of ABBA to tell the story.
Correct.
Yes.
And I was like, dude, I think this is something that can be viable. So I'm going to use the music of Genesis to tell the story of guns, gangsters, and ghosts.
That's freaking awesome.
And we're going to do a short film starting off.
Okay.
Proof of concept
Sure.
short film. And we'll see how it goes. I finished the first draft last week of the short film version.
Yep.
And we'll see where this takes us.
Awesome. That's really cool.
One quick story, can I?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is funny. So I went hunting in Kentucky, and we were in this town, me, my buddy Ryan, Bill, and Brendan. Just a bunch of hicks out there in Kentucky hunting for a week.
Yep.
And we were in Moorhead.
Yep.
And we just kept eating at the same restaurants over and over again because it was the same stuff. And it's a very small town.
Yeah.
So finally one day we're like, we need to find something new. So we're like, oh my gosh, there's a Chick-fil-A here. We didn't even see it. So we find the Chick-fil-A. It was at the campus, and it was in like the student center.
Yeah.
So us 4 hicks go in there in the middle of a school day, and we're there with like 1,000 college kids eating Chick-fil-A, like just looking like 40-year-old idiots. I was like, that's my experience with Moorhead State. And of course, I went to the store and bought a T-shirt.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, do you want to take us out?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess so. As we head out here, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who might be like the young Brandon Keeton out there who's thinking about like, maybe I want to get into something creative someday, and maybe I want to branch out of the 9-to-5 box or the educational system box or whatever it is. What's one piece of advice you give to someone like that?
Do the 9-to-5.
Okay.
Do the 9-to-5 first. Make good, because that's what I did. From my life experience, I made good decisions in my 20s and 30s. And into my 40s. I retired the first time at 39 from the Marine Corps. I retired again at 48 from the martial arts school. And, now I'm 50, and I have my retirement. I'm retired at 50. So my experience has been do the 9-to-5. Don't forget, let Home by the Sea fester in your head for a while, And then when you have yourself set up to where you can not have to worry about the bills too much. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that my bills are going to get paid. I know I'm going to have a place to live. Thank you, VA loan. Thank you, taxpayers. But I do that. Set yourself up to where you can then do this first. Or and it's the same. It's the same advice that you give to entrepreneurs. Work your day job, but then spend about 4 hours a night working on your dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody has bills to pay. You can't get away from it.
Yep.
And so do that while you're working on this. I was able to do that at the martial arts school because 6 days a week, and in my opinion, every teacher is a performer on some level. A good teacher is a good performer on some level. So 6 days a week, I was getting practice performing because to keep kids engaged, especially, you have to be entertaining.
Right.
And so I was getting practice without realizing it in performing, and then doing my commercials and public service announcements. I was getting practice doing that. So it's not like I just jumped into acting. I jumped into getting paid to act.
Right.
Yeah. Which is great advice. It really is, because a lot of people just don't know what to do. And most people, well, not most, but a lot of people get stuck in that 9 to 5.
Yeah.
They do.
And that's
because
the
they
thing.
get comfortable.
They do.
Yes.
And it's nice to be it's nice to be uncomfortable. And nothing changes without change.
Well, that's what COVID did. Made a lot of people uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on. I also want to thank Zach, because Zach, I give Zach ideas about questions, and then Zach comes up and sends me emails at night, and I never thank him for it. But he sends me, he's like, hey, here's a list of our questions for tomorrow. We make small adjustments to them, but Zach always does a really great job with that.
Thanks.
So I just want to let you know, thanks. It means a lot to me. It makes this job a lot easier for both of us sometimes.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciate all the work you're putting into the good hustle. So
Well, like you said earlier, I mean, it's the love of the game, right? It's
100%.
I love doing this.
Yep.
And I really want to thank you for coming on, because
thank you.
I think that what we're doing here, and I know we're tooting our own horn a little bit, but I think what we're doing here is outlining a lot of valuable stuff, valuable life lessons, valuable stories for a lot of people. And I think people can really take a lot from your story.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.